Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to briefly discuss business expenses and what we can deduct for tax purposes. Depending if you're self employed or if you're running your business through a limited company, the rules can be slightly different, but the underlying principles are similar. And broadly speaking, you can deduct most of your business cost expenses from your profit before tax. These are all costs that you incur for the running of your business and must not include any personal use. Now, before we go and look at some example of allowable business cost, it's worth making a distinction between business expenses and capital expenditure. Business expenses are those costs incurred for the running of the business, such as rent, any service that we purchase, utilities, office costs, and goods for resale. Business expenses are deducted from the turnover to arrive to the taxable profit. For example, we made £100 worth of sale, we incurred £50 worth of cost, our taxable profit will be 50, will be taxed on the £50. Capital expenditure are those costs incurred for the purchase of assets that will be used in the business, for example, equipment, machinery, company vehicles. These are not deducted from the turnover like for the business expenses. Instead, the relief for those costs is obtained by claiming the applicable capital allowance. So let's look at some example of allowable business expenses now. So we have, for example, office costs, stationery, phone bill, or any other office cost for that matter. Travel costs, they normally deductible, for example, fuel, parking, train, or bus fare. For travel costs, we need to be mindful of some special rules that we're going to be looking at a bit later on. We can have clothing expenses, for example, if you need a uniform or specific clothing in order to do your job, those costs are generally deductible. Any staff cost, it could be in the form of salaries that you pay to your employees or in the form of subcontractor cost if they help you to run the business. They are deductible. Things you buy to sell on, goods stock that you buy to resell, any raw material that you buy to produce the goods that you sell, those are all deductible costs. Any financial cost, for example, it could be a business insurance or bank charges, interest that you pay, those are all deductible costs. Cost of your business premises, it could be heating, it could be lighting, it could be business rates, those are all indeed deductible costs. If you're working for home, you can deduct some use of home, and this is generally a percentage of your house cost. And this is based either you can use the simplified method provided by HMRC that essentially award some cost based on the hour that you spend working from home, or you can use a more accurate calculation and you can apportion based on, let's say, the space that your office setup occupies as a percentage of your house. There's no strict rules here to determine how much use of home you can attribute to the business, but it has to be a sensible proportion and apportionment. Um, we also have any advertising and marketing cost. Those are all, of course, deductible. For example, if you have a business website, if you market on social media, those are all valid business cost. Any training courses that you take to advance your business, to keep yourself up to date with regulation, with training, and anything with technical training or anything that it has to do with the business. Though it can't be personal, and if it's not business related, of course, it wouldn't be deductible. One final point here is if you are self-employed and you choose to claim your £1,000 tax-free trading allowance, unfortunately you can't claim any business cost, any deduction. So this is pretty much an overview of what some example of allowable business costs are. And next we're going to look at some example of capital expenditure. So in terms of example of capital expenditure, capital cost, we have equipment, we have any machinery that the business purchase. We have, for example, a motor vehicle, can be car, it can be van, and it can be lorries. As we mentioned before, those costs are not deductible from the turnover like you would do for expenses. Instead, for any asset cost, the tax relief is obtained by claiming the capital allowance. Now, depending on the nature and the value of the asset that the business purchased, relief can be obtained 100% on the year that the asset has been purchased, or sometime is claimed partly on the first year and partly on subsequent years. Just like expenses, one final point is that if you are self-employed and you're claiming the tax-free trading allowance, unfortunately, you cannot claim any capital expenditure, any relief on capital allowance. So this is everything as far as capital costs are concerned. And next, we're going to look at some example of non-deductible cost. So as far as non-deductible business cost, the main example are some legal costs that come from breaking the law, and the most common are parking tickets and parking fines. Unfortunately, these are not deductible for business purposes. Another very important example is an exemption around travel cost. So unfortunately, travel between your home and a fixed place of work is not deductible. Any commute cost is not deductible. If instead you travel, if you're required to travel from your work to visit different clients in different location, those costs are deductible. But travel from your home to a fixed place of work, the cost that you incurred in this travel, in this commute, are not deductible business costs. And lastly, is client entertainment. Unfortunately, those costs are not deductible for business purposes. And those are the main example. Of course, there are more, but these are the one that we encounter most commonly, most often. Next, we're going to look at one final point is how long a business should keep its record. So if you are self-employed, you must keep your record for at least 5 years after the 31st January submission deadline of the relevant tax year. Instead, if you are a limited company, you must keep your record for at least 6 years from the end of the last company financial year that they relate to. It is possible that sometime you need to keep those records longer, but generally speaking, you need to keep them for at least 6 years from the end of the last company financial year that they relate to. This is everything for today and for this video on business expenses. I hope you have enjoyed the content. I hope you found it useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue to grow and provide you free tips and updates. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.